Welcome to the China Influencer Marketing Podcast. Each week, we speak with top influencers, marketers, and brands who share their experiences, strategies, and tactics for influencer marketing in China. Here's your host, Hallanan.
Hi, everyone. In this episode of the China Influencer Marketing Podcast, we chat with Jingyi and Annie, two Chinese millennials studying abroad in New York City. On this podcast, we often talk about Chinese millennials and their interests, behaviors, consumption habits. So I wanted to actually get some Chinese millennials on the podcast and hear what they had to say about social media and influencer marketing. I talked to Jingyi and Annie about their favorite social media platforms, which social media accounts they follow, their opinions on influencers, and whether or not influencers have ever had any effect on their purchasing decisions. Some of their answers really surprised me. For example, they both cited Redbook or Xiaohongshu as one of their favorite social media platforms. After listening to what they had to say about the platform, I really want to play around with it more. And I just want to give a caveat that, of course, I understand that Jingyi and Annie do not represent all Chinese millennials. They both have spent a great deal of time abroad, and they both come from upper middle class families. But that being said, people like them are a core target audience for many international brands. So I do think that their opinions are very relevant. I really enjoyed hearing their perspectives, and I would like to make this an ongoing series of interviews with Chinese millennials. I think that sometimes we listen too much to what the influencers and experts are saying, and I would like to hear more from the social media users themselves, the consumers. Before we start the podcast, I just want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, Parklu. Parklu is China's premier influencer marketing platform. Learn more at parklu.com. I also just want to let you know that this will be a two-part episode. My first interview is with Jingyi, and the second one is with Annie. I'll put the time that Annie's interview starts in the show notes if you feel like you want to skip ahead. And now, on to our interview with Jingyi Hu. Hi, Jingyi. Welcome to the China Influencer Marketing Podcast. I'm really happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. I'm so happy to be here with you.
So I was wondering if you could take a moment to introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you up to? Where are you living? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. So my name is Jingyi. I am a student at NYU, New York University. So I have been in the US for 6 years, and my undergraduate was also in New York, which is called Fashion Institute of Technology. And this also decides that my background before was in fashion and luxury. So I used to live on fashion and luxury, and right now I am working at Jing Daily. And just a little bit personal about myself. I'm from Guangzhou, China, and it's a southern city. It's the capital city of Guangdong province.
So, you said you've been in the U.S. for 6 years already. Do you still use a lot of Chinese social media platforms, or have you found yourself kind of switching over to Western platforms, or what do you use the most?
I am actually staying on both of the social media. So, but I am personally more inclined to use the Chinese ones because I'm Chinese. But for Western social media, I use Instagram the most because because my account is private and feel like there's more privacy on Instagram, and Instagram is more image, driven, and I like that. And for Chinese social media, I use WeChat a lot, like every day, every moment. And I sometimes even search on WeChat instead of, Google or Baidu. And there's one app that I am recently very into, which is Redbook, so-called 小红书. Mostly I use Redbook for beauty advice. So right now you may notice that Sephora is going to do a biannual promotion, and I'm looking into 小红书to find advice and see what I can buy. So I would say it's very engaging and a lot of user-generated content, and I think it's a great conversion for brands as well.
Yeah, I would love to talk a little bit more about Redbook because I think that there's nothing really like it in the West, and it's becoming more and more popular in China. So like you said, it's like a social e-commerce platform. Like it's a word of mouth platform, and all of the posts on there are pretty much people talking about different products. And it's not like other social platforms where, people kind of have to hide that they're talking about a product. It's like on Redbook, that's like all that you're posting about is a product. So why do you go there for recommendations instead of like, say, reading an official WeChat post or going on to Weibo or something like that? Like why do you go to Redbook?
Well, I think because I go to Redbook, the only reason is for beauty advice. And for me, I think WeChat, Weibo are full of every types of information. So let's say news, entertainment, and daily lives. So there's more tons of information. Like there's always give me a feeling of I am going to be blown away by this information. But on Redbook, I have this focused information on beauty.
Okay, got it.
So I would go to Redbook for beauty advice only. But that doesn't mean that some beauty advice on WeChat or Weibo is not applicable, or they're also useful to me, but I guess it's just for the efficiency issue that I find Redbook much more efficient than WeChat and Weibo in finding information on beauty.
Okay. Have you ever bought anything through the platform, or do you mostly just use it for research and then you go and buy stuff on some other platform?
Yes, I don't buy anything on Redbook because I haven't explored that function yet, I guess. I mostly just look and search and then buy somewhere else online using Google.
Do you think this is I feel like this is pretty common in China, is that you do research on all these platforms, but you end up searching around other places before you buy it. I feel like a lot of Chinese people, even if they see it somewhere and there's a link to the product, they're still going to go search for it and try and find the best deal or something like that. Do you think that's true for a lot of people?
I think it's true for people, but I think it also depends on that post. Is the brand offering any incentive for people to buy directly from that post? For example, maybe there is a promotion only for this post, and if you miss this post, you're going to miss the promotion forever, and then you're not going to find better deal anywhere. But I would say most people would know something on the social media know something from people's content and then go somewhere else or someplace they know that, they're definitely going to get the product and buy it.
Okay. Do you follow any specific influencers on Redbook, or do you just kind of search around on there for products from certain brands and then read what different influencers say?
Yeah, I don't know any influencers on Redbook, but they do have a lot of recommendation based on my past views. But there's one celebrity I follow who is Fan Bingbing.
Mm-hmm.
She recently became a beauty blogger, and she's going to launch, I think she already launched her beauty brand. Yeah, and I think for Redbook, I'm just looking around and search for a specific product and search for people's reviews and try to apply their opinion to my opinion and then make the decision to buy or not buy.
Okay, got it. Cool. So speaking of that, have you ever bought anything because an influencer recommended it? It could be an influencer on, WeChat, Weibo, Redbook, Instagram, any platform. But do you feel like influencers have actually affected your purchasing decisions?
Definitely. I would say, especially for beauty, I am more inclined to buy products for those bloggers who I followed and in love with. For example, there's this Korean beauty blogger whose name is Pony, and she had recommended a lot of nice hair stuff especially for Asian girls, and I remember that's one of the craziest spend I've done for this blogger. And other things, for example, I have followed some accounts on WeChat, and these accounts are actually, they're called chicken soup account. So these people write about people's feeling and analyze them. And then there's this account called Linxi, and the author recently released a book. And then I naturally just follow the book and buy it. So that is two purchases I remember. But I wouldn't say influencers have a great impact on my purchase decision, because apparently I have my own judgment. Nobody knows me better than I do. So mostly I think I will purchase something that is appropriate to myself, that is catered to my feeling. And then but I think there's something called, but I think influencers influence my purchase decision on pushing the right information to me at the right time. So if I am hesitant to buy something and there's this post jump in front of me and saying that, hey, a lot of people say that this is good and you should buy it, and persuade me in a strong way, and then I think I would buy this, but this is only because I already have the idea to potentially buy the stuff.
Okay, so it's almost like a review. Like you're already thinking about it, and then maybe you see the influencer using it and recommending like how to use it or how to style it or something like that, and you see lots of other people talking about it, and that kind of pushes you like that final stretch to decide to buy it.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So because you were saying that you want to buy things that really appeal to you. So where are you discovering products? Like, how do you discover new products that you like? Are you just searching around on a brand's website, or are you going on an e-commerce site, or do you see it scrolling through social media? Like, how do you discover new products that you like?
I feel like I don't think I have some regular website that I use, but not through social media. For example, there's Amazon that can influence my buys, and there is e-commerce site called Shopbop or Net-a-Porter. I think these websites influence my decision to buy a lot because they have strong editorial content, as well as for Shopbop, they have great promotions every season. So I know that they're gonna have the promotion, or I know that they're gonna have great content, so I will buy them. But on social media, I think it's very convenient when I see something in a post, and then I can immediately know what brand it's from and where I can buy it. So I find Instagram's social shopping function very useful.
Yeah, they're starting to get more of that. It's been kind of slow compared to a lot of Chinese platforms. Does that ever, I mean, for me, that's kind of frustrating. I wish that they would a lot of Chinese platforms have so many more e-commerce functions than Instagram or other like Western platforms do.
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of what we just talked about, Pinterest also doing a great job.
Yeah.
For the Western platform.
Do you think that because you are here living in the US and studying in the US, that has like changed what kind of platforms you're interested in and are using?
I don't think so. Because the world is very connected right now. It doesn't really matter if you're in the US or in Europe or in Asia Pacific. A lot of the platform can be used everywhere. So, but as Chinese and knowing Chinese language really helped me to understand and use Chinese platform much more than Western ones. But I think each of the platform has their great and enriching information. So, for example, I think for some of my friends who are after some a Western pop star like Justin Bieber, Selena Gomez, and these people are not in Weibo or WeChat, right? So they will definitely use Instagram and Facebook or Twitter to chase after these people. So it really depends on maybe what kind of influencers is on the social media, and just use it according to what you need.
Okay, got it. So because you mentioned like Shopbop and Net-a-Porter, do you think are there a lot of young Chinese people using those platforms? Do you think, like people that are interested in fashion?
Yes, I've seen a lot of people, even local, like Chinese in China, they use Shopbop to shop. And as you may know, Net-a-Porter also have APAC branch. They have headquarters. I think they have office in Shanghai and Hong Kong. So I think, yeah, and I know that Shopbop has opened the Alipay for Chinese people to shop, and this is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do you feel like brands, because you're an international, a Chinese international student, and I feel like there's a lot of, so you're living in the U.S., and I feel like a lot of Western brands, when they want to target Chinese people, they're thinking about Chinese people that are living in China, and a lot of their promotions might link back to Chinese e-commerce sites and things like that. Do you think that have you seen brands doing anything to reach Chinese international students? And do you think that's something they should do, or does that not really matter too much to you?
I think I have seen brands in New York doing some events for Chinese students or Chinese demographic in general, but I don't see anything that is catering to specifically to Chinese international students. So, for example, when Mr. Bags was a student in New York, he has collaborated with Bergdorf Goodman and held events there, and it's called Fan Meeting. But I think this helped Bergdorf Goodman to bring Chinese traffic to the store and then potentially generate sales. I think that is one example that the Bergdorf Goodman was doing to attract Chinese demographic, but it doesn't really say that it's attracting Chinese international students. So I think brands should really separate Chinese international students from the local Chinese, because apparently these people are generally much more educated. They're English, they speak English very well, and they have both Chinese heritage and the Western culture influence, and they shouldn't treat these people like what the local Chinese doing, because they possess both the Chinese heritage and the Western lifestyle. But I think it's challenging for brands to segment and target these international students. So, for example, in the US, we know that New York people are absolutely different from the California people.
Yes.
So international students studying in New York and California are definitely not the same. I know some friends who's studying at California. They're very into like sporty tanning, but in New York, we definitely could not get that. So understanding and separating these segments and target them accordingly is a challenge for brands. I think we have written a great article last week, like Jing Daily, about Chinese international students, and there's a great point saying that exclusive events is helpful to reach this demographic, because experience is something that they wouldn't have back at home, and this is this is exactly what they're looking for from brands: a great experience and exclusivity. So I would say doing exclusive events for this demographic, and even doing customization for this demographic, it will be very helpful to in the brand image and stay and increase their loyalty. And also, I would recommend that brands to integrate this to improve international students' shopping experience by integrating more and by doing more to their CRM system. So, as you may know, that 64% of Chinese still shop luxuries at store, even though e-commerce is growing. And brands should not overlook their brick and mortar experience. So, for example, I would say identifying regulars and send targeted promotion emails to the international students are great tactics to use for store staffs.
Okay. So trying to trying to capture those students that they see coming into the stores, and then, once they've come into the store, maybe they can get their information and then invite them to these exclusive events, and that'll help keep them coming back to the store.
Yes.
And because I think something that I didn't mention in the question, but just that I think, I'm asking this question because I think that Chinese international students, not saying all of them, but there's a lot of them that do have, higher spending power. Maybe they come from upper middle class, or even, wealthy families. And they, they also have a huge impact on other people back in China, like their family and their friends back in China, because those people see that they are living abroad and they trust their opinion on, these Western brands because they feel like they have a better understanding, an experience with these brands. So I think that a lot of brands are missing out by not communicating more with this population, because there's a lot, they can influence not just this one person, but like their whole network back in China.
Exactly. That's a great point, Lauren. Take me as an example. I wouldn't say I'm coming from a super wealthy family, but my family income is definitely higher than most families in China. Every time when someone in my family asks, they always ask me about, hey, should I use this brand, or do you know that brand? And hey, can you get this brand for me? And hey, when you're coming back, or even ask me, where should they go? Like, I can influence their travel decisions. So not just on what to buy, and also where to go and where to shop, etc.
Yes, exactly. And I think that we know from a lot of studies that word of mouth is way more influential than any kind of marketing tactic might be. If you tell your family member where to go, they're way more likely to go where you recommend than, something that they see in online.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to kind of switch the topic a little bit and go and just talk about influencers real quick. So as far as influencers, whether it's on WeChat, Weibo, or any other Chinese social media platform, you mentioned Pony, you mentioned Mr. Bags. Are there any influencers or social media accounts that you really like to follow, that you think are producing really good content?
Yes. So I have been following this entertainment account for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. So it's called, translating it back to English, it's called Abnormal Human Being Research Center. It's an account on both Weibo and WeChat, and every day it just gather all the funny images or funny, words, sayings from all over the internet, and then it just make me very happy every day just by looking into this account. So I am a huge fan. And also there's one called KnowYourself. It's a platform on WeChat that has shared a lot of psychological knowledge to people, and it solves people's problem by citing professional psychological the professional psychological journals. So, for example, if I was at a time when I'm very frustrated about finding a job, and then KnowYourself had pointed me the right way, and so I'm a huge fan for them. And also there is some personal blog I love a lot. For example, there's one called Sweet Beats. This is a personal. The person is actually from NYU as well. She wrote a lot about healthy living and vegan eating, although I'm not a vegan, but I love seeing how we can eat vegetables much more in a healthy way. And there's one more called Miss Tao, and she actually is also she actually also lives in New York, and she wrote a lot about like current issues, but mixing with her opinion, which are absolutely very fierce, and I love about that. And I also love some of the fashion critiques accounts, because I come from a fashion background, and fashion critiques is really one of my interests, so I read them a lot. Some other accounts related to New York life, because I'm living in New York now. So like these accounts will help me to know what latest show, where I can go in New York, what kind of museum shows is on, and what kind of popular restaurants is in New York. So these kind of accounts are all my favorites.
Awesome. Well, maybe you can share those, share some links to those with me, because I think that people will be really interested to be able to take a look at those and kind of check them out. I'm interested to look at the at Miss Tao's account. I think that must be interesting. I like these accounts that people abroad kind of put their own unique view on everything.
I think these people are also perfect examples of how Chinese international students is going to become as they have finished their studies and really possess both Western and Eastern point of views, and they look at things in a very different ways.
Yeah, definitely. And even if they, I think that's also another point for brands, is that, when people like you and other students, go back to China, that their experiences and their viewpoints are also very different than other Chinese millennials. So you can't really put all Chinese millennials together, because I think those with overseas experience have a much different mindset.
Yes, very different, I would say.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think that's really useful information for people. I think they're gonna really enjoy looking at some of your recommendations.
Thank you for taking time with me.
And now it's time for this week's Park Lu Influencer Marketing Insights. Why are long-term relationships with influencers beneficial? We have seen time and time again the benefits of long-term relationships with influencers. When influencers love your products and love working with you, it shines through in their work. Repeated endorsements bring a level of authenticity to the influencer's content because it's not just a one-off paid promotion. So how do you build these long-term relationships? Approach relevant influencers only. Regularly involve them in campaigns. The core of building a long-term relationship with influencers is working with them on an ongoing basis. Give them creative freedom. Many influencers will refuse to work with brands that are too controlling. Compensate them fairly. Interact on a regular basis. Reciprocity. Create value for them. Don't just take. And get involved. Brands should leverage influencers and their audiences to get valuable feedback and ideas. For more insights and articles from Park Lu, please visit us at ChinaInfluencerMarketing.com/Park Lu, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program.
Well, hi, Annie. I'm really excited to have you on the China Influencer Marketing Podcast.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. I'm happy to talking to you here today.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if you could take a moment to introduce yourself, tell us, maybe, where you're from, where you're living now, and kind of what you're doing these days.
Okay, I'm a student from NYU and I just graduated last September. I'm from China and I've been living in New York for about two years. And now I'm working for the Jing Daily and doing the marketing jobs. Yeah.
Okay. And what were you doing a master's at NYU?
Yeah, I'm doing a master, integrated marketing master.
Okay. Why did you decide to go to NYU to do that? What was the inspiration for studying abroad?
Because I have a gap year after I graduated from my undergraduate. And within that 1 year, I visit a lot of places and meet a lot of different people to see what is the thing that I really want to have in the future, or what the job I want to do in the future. And after that year, I decided that I want to go abroad and to know more about the world. Yeah, and digging more on study things. For marketing is because I have one marketing course in my undergraduate years, and I realized that the course is really interesting, so I would like to continue this major.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you think that's becoming more common in China to have a gap year like that? I feel like I don't hear too many people doing that.
Yeah, it's becoming more common in China.
Why do you think that is?
Because I think young people like me don't have much pressures to having work they are not so pressed. Sorry, yeah, they don't have much pressure to have a work. They just want to explore more what they want and live a ideal life.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's really interesting because that's maybe very different from previous generations.
Yeah, for the previous generation, it's just graduate and then find a job and then married and have a child. But yeah, like that.
And why do you think that your generation has less pressure?
Because maybe one of the reasons is because of the one-child policy, and the parents are more care about their only child. They care about if they're happy. Happy is the first thing, and money and other things are the second and third thing. They just care if their only child is happy or not.
Okay, so that also gives the children more room to go explore what makes them happy.
Yeah. And for the past 2 years, the most the words my parents said to me was, "If you are happy, I don't care what you're doing. Happy as long as you're happy." Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really great that you have their support, and because of that, you've been able to maybe explore a major that you're more interested in instead of being forced into doing something that you're not as interested in.
Yeah. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Okay. So, now that you have been living in the U.S., I'm curious, do you use Western social media platforms, or do you still use a lot of Chinese social media platforms?
I think I use both of them. For the Western, I usually use Instagram and YouTube. These are two main Western social media platform. And for the Chinese social media platform, I usually use Redbook, Weibo, and WeChat. Yeah, I use both of them.
Okay. So, what type of content on those platforms, like on Redbook or Weibo, WeChat, what type of content are you most interested in? Do you look at fashion, travel, what kind of content?
I would say makeup makeup things is the first top one content that attract me.
Okay, why is that? Why do you like to watch that or view that?
Because first, I love all those makeup stuffs, and I would like to try what the nail lipsticks, nail eyeliner, and how that looks on my face. So I would like to have a try. So, and I also like to see influencers or the YouTubers, what they're using now, or what are their recommendation on the makeup stuff, so that I can have a new try.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like that's it's funny cuz I used to work in China, and I feel like a lot of my coworkers, and I also studied abroad in China, and this because this is going back to 2009, and I'm older than you, like I'm almost 30, and I feel like a lot of my Chinese friends weren't that into, like, they didn't wear makeup a lot. Like, I was pretty surprised because I was like they never really put a lot of makeup on, and they didn't, when they did, it was like, oh wow, you're wearing makeup today, like, and I feel like, but if you skip down to like slightly younger generation, I feel like younger, like your age, and then like younger Chinese girls like really like makeup and are really interested in it. Like, I feel like it's something new that I don't know. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. And their favorite present for even the Valentine's Day or the Christmas or Tom Ford lipsticks or Tom Ford eyeliner or something like that. Their favorite present are those makeup stuffs.
Why do you think that like younger Chinese women are so interested in makeup all of a sudden? What do you think? Like, what? I don't know. I'm curious.
I think it because first is that the internet is very because of the internet they become knowing more brands and they would like to have a try. And the second is that because makeup is different from all those other luxury products. Makeup is a thing that it has a brand name and you can afford it. So I think they are more likely to try this first as a starter of their journal to explore the luxury brands.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. So it's more accessible, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. You said like makeup content appeals to you the most. Have you ever like bought any beauty products because you saw an influencer like recommending it or using it?
I usually do that.
Mm-hmm.
I usually do that. Like, what is a new item that the blogger or the influencers recommended to me? As long as I can buy that from Sephora or order online, I will definitely buy that and try that.
Okay, so you said, is that typically on like Redbook, or is that on WeChat? Like, which platform do you follow influencers on the most, or like do you see new products on the most?
I was in YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like what about when you were back? Because you've been in China. I mean, you've been in the US for 2 years now.
Yes.
Is that something like, did you start using YouTube more when you got to the US, or is that something that you like followed some YouTube influencers when you were back in China too?
Yeah, I just started to use YouTube when I went to New York. Yeah, for only those past 2 years, because I have VPN. So I think even I will back to China in the future, I can still like follow those YouTubers online.
And
yeah.
why do you prefer to look at like YouTube makeup influencers as opposed to like Chinese, the ones on Chinese social media platforms?
Because I think the YouTubers are those people that I can trust in compared with other influencers on the Chinese social media platform, because some of my friends working for those companies who run different like the social media account, and the brands just pay for them and to make like make a recommendation. But some of the influencers in those platforms actually didn't even try those stuffs before they recommend to people, but they still say, oh, this thing is good, so have a try.
So you just feel like a lot of the beauty influencers maybe in the US or Western countries are a little bit more trustworthy?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you think that a lot of Chinese people feel that way, or do you think that's just because you've been in the US? I'm curious.
I think it's because I've been here. Yeah. I've been here and I really have the opportunity to try those stuffs. So I can tell if the thing is real or fake.
Okay. So like you're able to kind of develop your own opinion about the product instead of just relying on the influencer.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you you said that you use YouTube a lot, but as far as the Chinese social media platforms, which one do you tend to use the most?
I would say the Redbook.
Why is that? Like, why do you like Redbook so much?
Because I think the content on that platform is more reliable because all the content are generated by the users. Yeah.
Okay. Do you follow specific influencers on Redbook, or do you?
I followed a lot. Like the first one is Fan Bingbing, and others are like Zhen Xiaozhu, New York Maggie. They're different, like the influencers. Fan Bingbing just recommend different skincare or makeup stuffs, and like the New York Maggie, she's an influencer that have a lot of like the fitness content, so that I can search for. Yeah.
And is that also on Redbook?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the other reason I like Redbook is because there's a lot of content on that. Besides the makeup part, it also has the fitness things, and also have some sharing experience of traveling or applying for some visa, or even some like study or learning experience, like how you prepare for some test, something like that.
And what makes you like Redbook more than, say, Weibo? Like what's different about it that really appeals to you?
I think in Redbook people are like it is more easier for you to talk with people who has the same interest with you. Like if you post something related to makeup, and the other one who's care about makeup will like to share their opinion with you. But if you just share something on Weibo, maybe nobody will have the negotiation with you or something, because you cannot like to using Weibo to deliver your content to all those people who you don't know. It's hard for you to do that. But once you have good content and the pictures on Redbook, and people will automatically find you. Because it has like the hot post of the day. And as long as you have good content or good pictures, you will automatically find by people.
Okay, so you think that organic growth is easier on Redbook, just that good content gets promoted maybe more easily than it does on like Weibo or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's because I mean I've played around with Redbook a little bit, and I'm still not super familiar with it as far as that, like, you know, whether the because I feel like a lot of Chinese social media platforms are not like organic content. You know, a lot of it is either people are paying to promote their posts, or maybe they have a connection, like a friend who works at the platform or something. So that's interesting to me that you feel that Redbook is a little bit more organic.
Yeah, and I'm a user of Redbook, and I write my own content. Last year, I wrote a post about the collections of all those bookstores in Hangzhou, and that post gained over 100 collected. So that's the other reason that why I like Redbook, because I feel satisfied on that platform. Because I never had even one post on Weibo has more than 100 liked or comments.
Yeah. I think sometimes the smaller niche platforms are a lot better for people who are starting out with trying to get a following, because like Weibo and WeChat have become so mature. It's really hard to start from zero on those platforms now.
So hard.
And just to like clarify for people listening, you said like collect. So Redbook is kind of like Pinterest, right? Like people can, if they see a post that they like and they want to keep it, they can kind of like collect it and put it into like a folder, right? Like a board.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I thought it was really interesting when I was playing around with Redbook the first time. I was like, hey, this is kind of like, it looks kind of like Pinterest. It's a little bit like Pinterest mixed with Instagram, you know, because it's got the boards, like you can collect things into different folders. Yeah, which I like that. I like that too. That's something that like Weibo kind of has, like Weibo has that feature, but it's not like easy to get to or to look at it's not like people don't really use it that often.
Yeah. And I sometimes will even forgot what I collect.
Yeah.
The content I collect, and when I went through all those posts, I realized that some of the original post had been deleted. So I don't know what was that, why I collect that. But for Redbook, people are not usually delete their post, because they just read the content by themselves, so they don't they won't like delete those posts easily.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the bigger influencers on Weibo might delete posts after a little while. Because maybe they don't want to have too many sponsored posts or things like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned on Redbook there was Fan Bingbing and Niuyue de Maggie. You also mentioned one more account. Who was the other influencer that you?
Zhan Xiaozhu Coco.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. And what kind of content?
She has a lot of different content related to makeup, to clothing, and also related to the experience of how she becoming a 学霸. She's learning experience, all those stuff. But the reason that why I'm following her is because I think she's pretty. She has good looking, so I just follow her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much for her product recommendations.
Yeah, just because she's so pretty.
That's funny.
Yeah. And kind of these influencers, I follow like more than 10. Just because they're good looking, I just follow them.
That's really funny. Do you pay attention to their content? Like, do you still?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. But I barely try their recommended stuffs, because they are already prettier enough. So even a really something is not good, but they're already pretty. So no matter what they are using, they're pretty.
Oh, that's an interesting. So
Yeah,
you think that you prefer you prefer those like influence, like I've seen on some Chinese social media platforms, there's like these videos where this girl will like look really, like, I'm not going to say ugly, but she just looks really plain and like,
Yeah.
and then she does her
After the
makeup and
makeup,
you're like,
yeah.
oh my God, how is that the same person?
Yeah,
So do you
Yeah.
prefer that type of person?
kind of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason why I want to like focus on those makeup, because I want to become more prettier. Since you've already prettier than me, so I don't know the meaning. What is the meaning to use what you're using? So I just follow you and good looking. Okay.
I think that's a really interesting point. I never thought about it that way, but I think that's definitely true. I think that's a really good point for beauty brands when they're choosing influencers, like something that they might want to think about.
But the thing is different for those influencers to those like the Fan Bingbing. But if Fan Bingbing recommends something to me, I will definitely accept.
Why is that?
Because I think it's because they have different influence. Yes, because Fan Bingbing is already a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what she recommended will definitely won't go wrong. But for like the Zhen Xiaozhu, I cannot tell if she used those stuffs or some just sponsored by those brands.
So why? I'm just curious. Why? Because I think a lot of people really trust Fan Bingbing's recommendations. Like, why do you feel that way about her recommendations?
Because Fan Bingbing is a superstar and she's rich. She don't care about those brands, the small money which the brands will pay her. And the stuff she recommended is what she's using. That's what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure if she's sponsored by the brand. But one interesting thing is that for 2 months ago, she recommended a Japan brand mask, and the mask later thanks the Fan Bingbing on Twitter for recommended that on Redbook.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think that brand at that time didn't sponsor Fan Bingbing to recommend that stuff.
Yeah, because that would be a little bit strange for them to thank her if they had paid her for it, and also you said it was a little bit after her post, right?
Yeah, after her post.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a really interesting point too that you make, that I hadn't thought of before, that, you know, maybe some of these stars, when they're talking about small products, especially from smaller brands, like, you know, that brand probably can't afford to work with somebody like Fan Bingbing, and she probably, like, what they can, like, she probably she's just recommending it because she actually uses it, not because she's getting paid by them. That's something like I totally had not thought of that perspective before.
The trend here is really interesting for the superstar like the Fan Bingbing or the Lin, another star.
Who?
They usually recommended the small brands, which that the normal people can afford them. But compared with those superstars, some influencers like only like the Zhen Xiaozhu, they usually recommended like the La Mer, the luxury brand stuffs to people. So,
who is the other superstar that you mentioned?
Lin Yun, Jelly.
Oh,
Lin
okay.
Yun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting trend, that it's kind of opposite.
Yeah.
Why do you think the influencers all want to promote like these like luxury brands? Is that because they think that that's what people want, or why do you think that is?
I think the reason is at the beginning they recommended those luxury brands is because they want to show show off their wealthy, to tell people, oh, I have money, I'm rich, and I'm using those stuff, so those brands, and some people might follow them because of they have good looking and they can use those luxury brands and tell them the experience maybe the normal people cannot have. But later those brands will reach those influencers and sponsor them to do more promotions at that time. So I think the second round of their promotion for the luxury brands is because of the sponsorship.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious because I think a lot of maybe not cheaper, but like not the luxury brands, you know, like more the mid-tier brands. I feel like they also probably have a lot of money for sponsoring posts too. But you know, I think maybe some influencers, if they, you know, they only want to do luxury products, maybe they're afraid that their audience won't like the other types of products.
Yeah. And I think it's much easier for the luxury brands to reach the influencers than the superstars. I realize that there's an influencer on Weibo only have less than 1 million followers, and the Tom Ford sponsored her and gave her some like gifts to promote that on Weibo. I think it's much cheaper to like reach those influencers than the stars.
Yeah, definitely. Although influencers are also becoming very expensive and hard to get these days.
Yeah.
Okay. So besides the ones that you mentioned, are there any other like favorite accounts or influencers, whether it's like WeChat or Weibo or Redbook that you really like to follow?
Oh, another account I would like to follow on Weibo is Alex Shi. He's a stargazer, and his forecasting is really nice, and I would like to follow him. Alex Shi. You can follow him too.
So it's like horoscopes, like reading star signs, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Reading star signs.
Interesting. That's a very I haven't heard about that kind of account before.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure for the American girls, but in China, most of the like the girls or the young ladies really trust the zodiac things.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I noticed. People love asking that question.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So for I'll have to check out the that account, but is that a big account?
Yeah, he has about like 7 million followers on Weibo.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Does he like monetize at all? Like how is he making money off of this? Cuz like I don't like what kind of products or services do you sell if you're
at first I think the way he make money is to customize the forecasting for customers. You can pay for him to make your own customized sorry, I don't know how to say that in English. Make your 星盘.
I'm not too familiar. I guess like just like your horoscope,
just read the stars.
Yeah, your like astrology.
Detail things of when you're giving him your birth time and place, and he will tell you more about the details and about all those your like the fortune the fortune things. And when you have the opportunity, you might meet the Mr. Right, like that, something. And later he started to like sell some calendars. Calendar, and like the small notebook like that.
Interesting.
He has some his own products, and now I know he has his own like the e-shop, and he sells some makeup stuffs.
Yeah, that seems very. That's a big twist.
Like this this mask can give you good luck for this month.
That's funny.
Or that things or all the stuff that can give you good luck for the following month, like that. But,
oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big twist. I'm curious to see how that's going for him. But like those other products make a lot of sense to me, but that seems kind of a little stretching it. But that's really interesting because I feel like we're always talking so much about, like makeup and fashion and all that. But, I think that's really interesting, like an astrology influencer. Yeah. Huh. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm gonna end there, but thank you so much for having this interview with me. I think it's really like super interesting to get your viewpoints about what you're interested in and what you're following. It's super interesting, and I think that people are really gonna love to hear it.
Okay, thank you, Laura, for having time with me.
Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Jingyi and Annie. I included links to all of the social media accounts that they mentioned during the episode in the show description and in the show notes on ChinaInfluencerMarketing.com. So be sure to check those out. I'd love to hear what you thought of the episode. Would you like to hear more of these types of interviews with Chinese millennials? If so, or if not, you can leave me a comment on ChinaInfluencerMarketing.com or message me on LinkedIn. If you liked this episode and know somebody else who might like it too, don't forget to share it. Thanks, and talk to you next week.